Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We're back. We're crashing back down to life, quite frankly, to be frank, as Tottenham's domestic away record of being unbeaten comes to an abrupt end as we crash out of the Carabao Cup, limp out of the Carabao Cup to the hands of Newcastle United. The holders, look, game itself will come on to missing a striker and a real lack of any killer instinct in the box. It was a frustrating watch, I want to say, from start to finish. There was real sloppy passing, no finishers in the squad. I think the worst thing about it all is that we actually didn't play that badly in spells, and it just screams back to the squad we have available. I mean, at times it really was men against boys, and with all due respect, some of these players, I just don't think they're good enough to be in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt. And we actually talk about this in the back room. ENIC, they've got a lot to prove if they're serious of what they're claiming to be in terms of wanting to take this Tottenham squad forward, because there's a lot of work to do when you look at that squad and what was displayed to the 5,500 travelling Tottenham fans. Bless them, have got to make their way back now up north. So credit to them, because there won't be many trains, if any, replacement rail running at this time of the evening. So we wish the away fans a safe trip back. Disappointing display. I'm joined by the old guard, as Marlon was saying earlier. Ricard Cracknell's in the house. Jason McGovern is back. Marlon from the Spurs Kings is back. Top panel. Sorry we couldn't bring you a top result. Let's talk you through the match facts and the stats of this one, as it does finish Newcastle 2, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Tottenham out at the fourth round of the Carabao Cup. Newcastle 10 shots to Tottenham's 11. Newcastle 3 shots on target to Spurs' 6. Tottenham 6 shots in Newcastle's box to Newcastle's 9. Newcastle the busier of the two sides in terms of being in our box, 29 to 19. Tottenham the busier of the tackles, 19 to 11. We just undershaded the clearances. Newcastle 30 to 29. Newcastle dominating the corner count, 7 to 2. Possession-wise, Tottenham actually edged it 53% to 47%. Newcastle also dominating crosses into the box, 26 to 19. Disappointing result. Frustrating when I think for many out there, like myself, that consider these cup competitions to be very important in the season. I think you look at the season in general, there's, really maybe now hope in terms of the FA Cup for Spurs in terms of what they can win this season. Bizarre thing about it, Cracks, is I think to start with you, I've actually seen us play a lot worse this season and win. We did okay in a lot of periods of the game. Some players had some individual, you'd say, at times, decent performances, but overall, the lack of quality from the front four, it was almost Sunday League at times. And that's before I even start about the goalkeeping error for the second goal. I think we got what we deserved in terms of not getting anything from it because of our lack of quality up front. But I think Newcastle's press doesn't really give you a second with the ball. I think what that scream out is that there's such a glaring need for a proper centre forward in this side. What did you make of it, Cracks? If you can try and break that down.
Hello, everyone, and evening to you all, fellow esteemed members of the panel. Regular viewers may notice that every now and then I will switch the camera off. Truth is, I'm actually having a little vape, but I don't like to vape on air because I don't like to encourage the kids to do bad things. So, try and keep the squeaky clean image of good old Crackers. But I fear tonight, Rick, that when you start speaking about a certain Brazilian striker we have in our ranks, the camera and the screen is just going to fill with a fog as I stressfully puff and puff and puff away on my horrid vape. Oh man, it's just I kind of don't know what to make of tonight, because as you said, in patches it was pretty decent. There was some decent movements and some decent patterns of play, but just when the ball gets up into that final third and up into the strike force, forget it. And I always call for the younger players to be given some time and just try and let them settle and be encouraging towards them. You know, we're currently seeing Xavi Simons a little bit in the barrel at the moment, although he was terrible tracking back for the second goal. You know, and that's just basics, whatever age you are. But, oh, man, just honestly, with Richarlison, just get rid. He's a senior player and he's turning in a performance like that. It was horrendous from him. It was absolutely horrendous. And I know we live in a more cuddly, you know, being nice to each other age, but these are professional footballers on big money, and that was just a god-awful performance from him. It was unacceptable. He's just such a weird... I'd love to... A weird player. Why did we buy him? What was the scouting reports on him? I've just not seen really anything from him for other than the odd fits and starts. And tonight, he got that really awkward half chance, not even a half chance. I mean, it was a 0.10 chance that he actually almost converted. And you think to yourself, he's the type of guy that you'll give him a jigsaw consisting of like 100 pieces and he'll just sit there looking at it, not being able to put together. But then you'd give him a Rubik's Cube and he'd have it solved within about 5 seconds. I just, honestly... Yeah, you know, there was some off performances all round, but the highlight one was Richarlison, as King Hoddle said in the comments. He can't be. He's about as Brazilian as I am. Just awful, absolutely awful from him. But I don't know, Rick. Yeah, it was. But there was other moments within that game where we had some great chances to do something. And you know, the tale of two goalkeepers as well. Papsar's shot brings out an incredible save from Ramsdale. Yeah. And we had sort of two moments in the game where Kinski's just not covered himself in glory. So you just kind of felt tonight, Newcastle, the last words as they went out of the dressing room was, we've got a game to win tonight. And we just looked a little bit like we've got a big game this weekend versus Chelsea. And that just seemed to be the vibe that run through the whole game, Rick.
It was indeed. I got to say, I know there's a lot of people out there that are listening and tuning into the show. If you do want to get involved in the interactive comments during the show being live, you can do. You hit that subscribe button. That will allow you to comment during the show being live, and that will let you in. And like I say, thanks so much as always for the incredible support we get for a lot of these late night shows. Like I say, if you can keep liking, keep subscribing to the show, that would be greatly appreciated. Jace, I'll turn to you. Look, I felt the game was still there for the taking at half time. You know, we just didn't kick on and show really anything in the second half. I thought Spurs played actually quite well until the changes, and we seemed to lose our way after that. You know, we gave away 2 really stupid goals, and we could have scored a couple ourselves, but I do feel like we limp out of this competition where I said to you beforehand, when I saw the lineups, I honestly felt for Tottenham, I was quite happy with the lineup. I felt there was rotation, yes, but there was intent to win. I felt we played with intent to win, but the lack of quality, what we saw on the pitch, was just so utterly frustrating. I mean, what do you take away from it from you, Jason?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the frustration was that probably for the first 15, 20 minutes, they were the better side. And you thought we were a little bit fortunate here, that massive Harvey Barnes chance. Then we kind of get into the game, produce 3 or 4 good chances, half chances, just waste them. Why Richie overruns one of them, no idea. And then the second half, we start sloppy and come back into it. And maybe if perhaps one goes on or goes in, it just gives you a little bit of belief you can still get something. But I suppose it wasn't totally unexpected, was it? We knew it was a difficult trip, and I think Newcastle away, such as our squad, that you almost need your best team on the pitch to do it. And that's not necessarily blaming Thomas Frank, but I think when you you change your goalkeeper and then you change one of your centre halves who's not a centre half. You end up without a, Richie doesn't really play as a striker in the first half, does he? There's square pegs in round holes. I don't think that helps at Newcastle away, but we know that that's typical Carabao Cup rotation, and it's what every team does. But I suppose we won't be having the Vicario Kinski debate for a few months yet now, will we? And that's it. But no, disappointing. But that's two of the 3 trophies we could have won this season gone down the drain, and we're still in October. So it's a long season ahead.
Just before I come on to Marlon, your point there, Jace, about the selection, would you have favoured then Van der Ven to play this one as opposed to Chelsea, or could he have played both? What would you make of that?
I would have. Well, I mean, he'd have played if it was a Champions League game tonight and at the weekend, wouldn't he? So, I just think when you're changing your goalkeeper and you're having to put a square. I mean, if you bring in, say, Draguzin in or Ben Davies in, it's one thing. But when you're having to stick a non-centre half in there, whoever that is, and it would have been Archie Gray tonight. If he hadn't picked up his injury, probably Palini was drafted in there late. So, I wouldn't have been in favour of seeing Archie Gray up against Woltemade and things like that. But so I would have gone with Mickey, but it is what it is, mate.
It is what it is, and Tottenham, of course, are out of the cup. Marlon, I'll come to you. I mean, I felt we looked a lot better as an attacking unit than we've looked at a lot of games this season. But I think we, as Jason says there, and he's right, I think we did badly miss that defensive unit of Vicario. Romero, we know, is out injured, and Van der Ven. But I think, again, it comes back to that frustration where you look at the squad, and when you've got Thomas Frank saying at the start of his reign, the ambition is to compete on all 4 fronts. I think what that display shows is that the club, the squad, Thomas Frank, he's unable to put out a team that can compete on all 4 fronts. Is that fair, Marlon? What did you take away from that defeat up at Newcastle?
Yeah, look, as soon as the draw came out, I think I was on here, and you saw my face when the draw came out. I just didn't want Newcastle away. Obviously, I didn't expect us to have this amount of injuries going into that game. But when I kind of saw the lineup, I think everyone's missing a big point here. Yes, we were good going forward, but how many times we let Newcastle run right through us? This is where the whole Polini and Bentancur debate, for me, shuts it all off, because we were so open at the back, and Paulinho, bless his heart, did his best when he could. Danso, again, tried to do his best, but we just looked like every time they came forward, we looked like they were going to actually score. The fact they've only had 3 shots on target is quite lucky for us in that sense, because actually they could have been out of sight if they were a bit more smart with their finishing in that first 30, 40 minutes. We looked slightly better. I'm not going to sit there and crack on Richie, because at the end of the day, I think if all of us had Brazilian passports, we would have probably made it professional too. I think that's
no, Marlon. You leave that to me. I'll crack on with him. Don't worry about that. I hope he's got his Arabic Duolingo open on the coach back down to London.
He wasn't good enough when he signed. We all knew it. We all kind of went, we should have got Gabriel Jesus at the time instead of him. He's come in. He's probably better on the left. And if we all kind of look at it, you got Calvert-Lewin, who's at Leeds, and every time he came back for Everton, Richarlison would move out to the left. That's how good Richarlison was. That Calvert-Lewin, as soon as he come back, was straight up there. So I don't know where we ever thought and as a Cracker said, whoever did the scouting for him, I'll never know. I think he's had 2-3 good games in a Spurs shirt, and he's been here how long? So we kind of knew what was coming. As for the rest of the team, this is one of them nights where you just go, everyone was off it. Every single player was off it. It just didn't click.
And Marlon, you can't afford to be off it when you go away to Newcastle United, can you? You just can't be. No. You have to be there, and you have to give it 7, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, look, for me, as soon as I saw Richie up front, I thought, this is not the game for Richie. Newcastle were they were good in the air. They're quite tough, and he's going to be diving all over the place, which he did. He got us a few free kicks, but we didn't do much with it because we just didn't have the aerial threat when we went forward anyway. We only had took one throw on, which was decent. The rest after that completely was a nightmare. And then, to be fair, I think, like Jason said, the two Richie chances, I just don't know what he's doing. And then you have to look at the Pape Sarr bit. That was probably the second best piece of play we had in that game. And it was just a great save. This is the difference when you get... Look, I've been one of them. I'm not a fan of Vicario, but I always said I'm not sitting there saying I want Kinksky either.
Mm-hmm.
But tonight proved it's both of them that need to be upgraded. Because Kinksky is going to be nowhere near where we want to be in the future. Like, you can clearly see it.
No.
The way he came out for that second cross, oh my God, what is he doing? And Danso's looking at him going, and Danso and Spence were right, because he was nowhere near it. I don't know what he's thinking. And it's just, he's all over the place. But this is where we are. This is where we are, look. If we can't compete on all four fronts, it was never going to happen. But what's more scary is that half of these have to play in the Champions League. And that this is the quality, and that's not even Newcastle's best team that was out there tonight. No. We got chances in that midfield because they didn't have their, Bruno wasn't out there. It was only Tonali out of free. Joe Linton
was Gordon. Gordon obviously wasn't playing.
Gordon wasn't out there, and we we had our chances, but at the same time they ran through us like we kind. I think for me, Xavi Simons, this was the night for him to prove the whole 60 million and everything. And I think from what we saw tonight, it's going to take him longer than 6-7 months to say. Well, 6-7 months, or will we ever see the best of it? If I'm starting to get Lamella vibes with him without the injuries, I'm not going to lie, where you can see the quality, but it's just not on a consistent basis. But look, happy to be proved wrong later on down the line. But I'm just seeing that as well, because I thought Lamella was always one of them that, was always on the cuff of being good, but it was always games that just never worked out for him. And then,
lacking consistency, wasn't he? That was the problem with Miller.
And that's what I'm starting to see with Xavi Simons at the moment. But look, I'm willing to be wrong on that. But at the present moment, I'm starting to slowly go, maybe it's not just going to work for him here. When sometimes you get that vibe, but when you sign a player and they're good, they're decent, just the club is not suited for the player.
I'll be honest, it's such early days on him, Miles. For me, again, we're a young player like that, a foreign player that's coming to a different league.
But this is the question. You're saying that, but he's come from the German league. Him and Wirtz came from the German league. Woltemade's come from the German league. Duck to water. I don't know. But positions. But this, I'm saying that. But if people are saying, but there are players that have come from Bundesliga and have settled more quickly. So how long can we use that excuse to let him bypass?
My only argument with what I've seen so far with Xavi is I don't think we get the ball into him far quick enough, and also the fact that I feel at times he's isolated when he has been played.
But when we did tonight, he wasn't doing anything with it. It's not like when he got the ball, he's doing something with it. And this is the issue that I'm having. It's like, yes, we can have that excuse, but when the ball is getting to him, actually, what's he doing with it?
No, I hear you on that, and you can't deny that. Your eyes aren't deceiving you. You're right what you're saying. Can't deny that. I just think at the moment with a player like that,
I'm not writing him off. I'm not writing him off. The problem is now we all wanted to see him in the number 10. Yep. And the problem is his best games have probably been for Spurs right now when he's been on the left.
We're going to see. Yeah. Look, it's early days with Xavi Simons. I think again, like I've said it before on the previous show. I think I wouldn't want to at this point critique a player that I've only just seen. 5 or 6 games. I think we've got to give him a little bit of time to settle. I think, we've got some other issues definitely to sort out before then in terms of that forward line. Jace, I can see you eager to come in a few minutes ago. What did you want to say?
Yeah, just on Richie. I mean, did he ever come in as a first team player anyway? We bought him at the time we had Kane and Son.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It was going to be a bench option that was going to play the odd game here or there when Kane wanted or when Kane or Son maybe needed a rest. He was never really bought to be our main number 9, was he? Because if he was bought to be our main number 9, then the moment we sold Kane, we wouldn't have gone and got Solanke to come in as the main number 9. Or a year later, I mean, he had enough time to lay claim to that shirt, didn't he? And he's never done it. So, he is what we've bought him for, a backup option that has to come in when players are out. But he's. How the hell did the bloke who scored that goal against Burnley turn up tonight? I mean, it's
no idea.
Chalk and cheese, isn't it?
Yeah,
chalk and cheese.
What do you think at the moment, Jace? We have got just to stick with you a second. We've got a crazy schedule ahead of us, and those injuries are building a mountain. We had 10 out with Archie Gray being the latest player to have an injury. We'll know more about that in due course. Calf injury for Archie Gray. You know, we've changed the whole medical staff, we've changed the manager, and yet we've still got 10 injuries. What are you making of it at the moment? It's pretty crazy, right?
No idea, mate. Every injury last year was down to the manager. So, you know, why have we got 10 injuries this year? I don't know. I don't know.
It's crazy, though, isn't it? To have that amount of injuries where we are in October with the games coming thick and fast. Is that what makes it harder as well in terms of, I mean, like you said as well, trying to work on things in training, whether it be more attacking play, set pieces? How much harder does that make it when you've got that amount of injuries and you are limited in terms of the forward options? That, again, I think we've got Solanke in that game. Could be a completely different game for Tottenham. I know it's hypotheticals, but you see where I'm coming from on that point, Jace?
Yeah, I do. But probably if Solanke's fit, he's probably rotated tonight anyway and kept for the Chelsea game, isn't he? So, you know, the only way Solanke plays tonight is if Kolo and Muani and Richarlison are injured. Otherwise, Solanke wouldn't have played. But, you know, we had it last year, didn't we? You know, I mean, you've seen a game tonight where there's no Van der Ven, there's no Romero, there's no Vicario. And defensively, we look a bit of a mess. But, you know, we went 4 months without those three last year and lost a load of games. But it was, you know, apparently that played no part in us losing games last year. You know, of course you're going to struggle to get performances when square pegs in round holes. You can't train properly because you haven't got the players on the training pitch you want. It all rolls into one thing. But, you know, apparently that had no impact on us last season. So how can you say it's got an impact on us this season?
We are going to hear from Thomas Frank shortly. Cracks, let me come over to you. I mean, how frustrating is it for you personally to be out of this competition? You know, we talk about what's winnable this season. I said at the start of the show now, we're down to that point now. It does already feel that the FA Cup is probably the more winnable. Well, it's the one trophy Spurs are going to focus on, right? I mean, again, I think we all feel at the moment that obviously Premier League, we want to see us move up the table. I think we probably, I don't want to speak for other people, but Champions League, I'm not sure we can see us winning it. Does this already kind of bring some clarity as to the season and what can be achieved, do you think, Cracks?
Well, there's that two sides of football where the fans and maybe even more so older fans will look at a cup and go, you should be at it and you should be trying to win it because, you know, the league is going to be beyond us, as you said, Champions League, but will be beyond us. So that leaves us at the moment with tonight, but we're out of, and the FA Cup to actually do something this season. But probably there was more of an eye and a concern for going into the weekend and trying to rest players. But, you know, Tottenham's not the only team that does this. So you're then looking at your squad depth. And if that's not deep enough, which we've seen tonight, or quality's not enough, then that's, if you want to rotate and go through in these cups, then that has to be addressed. Otherwise, when you get a Newcastle away like this, pretty much any Premier League team away, you're going to have a real struggle. So it's really disappointing to go out because we want to go and win cups and see the team do well. But you know, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because if we had played maybe Van der Ven tonight, and all of a sudden he pulls up and he does his calf or something, then everybody all of a sudden that was screaming for a full team tonight would then delete their tweets and go, why did we play him tonight when we had such an important league game on Sunday or at the weekend? So you're sort of damned if you do and damned if you don't, really. It's a tough balancing act, but it was some changes too many with players that are just not at it enough underneath that first 11. As you say, Jason was saying, you rotate the defence and put Paulinho in and the goalkeeper as well. That's too many elements at the back that are changed round to give you that settled unit as a whole defensive unit. So back in the day, I mean, and then up front with Richarlison coming in, back, Jason will remember this, when we didn't have like a Crooks or an Archibald, you'd have a Mark Falco come in. But man alive, what a player to come in. He would always sniff you a goal. He was way too good to be that sort of squad player at Tottenham, and could have been a fine player up front in his own right at another club. But he would come in and, you know, get you a couple of goals at Bayern Munich in that 84 UEFA Cup run, a couple of screamers, like a screamer against Arsenal. And that's why he was always one of my unsung heroes at Spurs, because he would be out of the team and then all of a sudden, bang, he's in, hitting the ground running. So we need to find today's Mark Falco. We need to find today's Mark Falco.
In fairness, Cracks, it's not that long ago you left Berbatov or Keane out and Defoe came in.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And but just overall, Rick, you know, we've lost Kane, we've lost Sonny, Solanke's come in, but he's been very in and out, with injuries, and been unlucky with that. But generally, our strike force has massively downgraded since, like with Kane and Son going and that. It really has. So they've got, the club's got some big work to do to rebuild that frontline options. And I'm just not seeing anything too encouraging at the moment.
I don't think it's too hyperbolic to say we're probably looking at the worst group of forwards we've had for 15, 20 years. I don't mean it disrespectfully to Solanke, but when Jason kind of run off there, who we had, Defoe, Keane, Berbatov, even if you had Bent in that, obviously, quartet back in the day, you had options there. It just was at the moment, you've got no reliability of a forward that you feel, right, he's going to get us a goal at the moment. And look, Moani, to be fair to him, is only just coming back from injury. Jason, if I just stick you for a second, did you have any concerns about patterns of play or build up? I saw a few murmurs online. I mean, what did you make of the attacking play for you? Was you quite happy with the way we approached the game intent-wise, or could it have been better? What do you make? Are you seeing improvement from an attacking perspective?
You can always improve, but we did actually create decent chances tonight. We weren't reliant on set pieces for our chances tonight. We actually created, 3 or 4 chances, good chances from open play. As Marlon said, Ramsdale makes a terrific save from Pat Sarr. When Pat Sarr hit it, I thought that was in. I thought that's in. And the 2 chances in the first half where Richie overruns one and then he doesn't quite get on the end of it. I mean, we actually created probably better chances from open play tonight than we have done for, the last 6 or 7 games. But, creating them's one thing, taking them's something else. And we just, we look toothless in an opportunity to take. And that's the frustration, because Newcastle haven't played that well to beat us tonight. And with
they haven't. That's
with a slightly more, with just a little bit more from us, we'd at least have gone to penalties or something. That's the frustration. They've missed a couple of big ones as well, in fairness, haven't they? Willock's header, where you think, got to head that in, and he's headed it across. But Harvey Barnes, a couple in the first half. So, if they take their chances, they score more. But there was enough in that for us to have got something from that game, at least to penalties, and who knows then what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's the frustration where, again, I bring it back to when you saw that selection, which we'll come on to shortly, that I just thought there was an opportunity here because Newcastle did rotate. And I think a really good point that's coming to the show here from David, who I think he's actually a Newcastle fan, but he's very complimentary about Spurs. And he made the point here, Marlon, that Frank did take it very seriously in this game. He only made 4 changes. He made less than any other club in the last 16. So, do you want to come back into that very quickly?
Yeah, I was just going to say, though, Rick, how many changes could he have made? Without,
limited,
when you look at the substitutes bench and you got, 5 or 6 academy kids on there, he couldn't have made, where was Odebear tonight, for instance?
No idea.
We've heard Archie Gray is injured. Where was Odebear tonight?
Yeah, because you're right in what you said. I mean, the lineup there kind of suggests the only 2 players that could really have changed the game is Moani and Kudus, right?
Yeah, yeah, and Tell's on the bench. Okay, so you could have played Tell instead of Richie or something, but there wasn't much. And that's not me criticising Thomas Frank, incidentally. I just mean there wasn't much more that it could have changed, is there? I mean, we've already got a centre half playing out of position. We've already actually got a right back playing at left back. So that's just what I mean. You're starting to, but we didn't really have a number 9 in the first half. We had Shabby playing as a false 9, whereas Richie's a natural false 9 in every sense of the word. That he's a false 9, he's a false 10, he's a false 11. He's just a false football player, isn't he, Richie? But there wasn't much more that he could have done tonight in terms of changes.
No, I mean, that's a fair point. Marlon, do you share Jason's same feelings there in terms of that team selection for you?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what Jason's saying. The only thing that I say is that, again, we're going to go back to the whole Paulinho Bentancur debate. If you bring Paulinho back into midfield and you have a centre back, I believe that the game's completely different. We probably don't create as much, but I don't think we end up conceding the amount of chances and Newcastle not on top because we're a bit more solid. And that's the way Frank has built it in the last couple of weeks. But there was not much more he could do because the amount of injuries that we currently have, which again is Ange's fault, there's hardly any change. And we kind of have to look at that Everton result on the weekend and go, this is what we're down to. We're getting to the point, we're getting down to bare bones, and we're trying to ease players back coming into it so we can just basically because look, we're going through probably the toughest period of how many football matches we're going to have to play in consecutive days, and there's not much days in between them. And Newcastle have got the same issue. I think they get an extra day, or they get the 1 day under. But this is the best we could fill out in this situation, where I believe if you look at Newcastle, they just had a more plethora of players to choose from. And this is where we're at. And a lot of the other teams at the moment, like they're saying, that they didn't make us. We made the least amount of changes was because they've got less injuries than we have. So they're able to make the changes. They're able to bring players in, because if we had our full squad, you're going to see I reckon you would have seen about 7 or 8 changes tonight, completely different. But this is where we're at. Again, we're getting to the busy part of the season, and our players are falling like flies again.
And Marlon, the changes they make don't change the shape of the team. They're not playing a right back as a left wingers, and they're not playing with different centre backs who's not a centre back and things.
Yeah,
exactly.
Fair points. Look, we're gonna go for our first break of the show. We're gonna grab a quick word from Thomas Frank, and we will try and bring this press out a bit later into the show. But let's quickly hear from Thomas, who's given his reaction to Spurs official on the back of us crashing out the Carabao Cup to Newcastle. Let's hear from Thomas Frank.
Thomas, thanks for joining us. Ended up 2-0 to Newcastle. Thought we played all right. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it's always disappointing to lose. And it's always disappointing to be out of a tournament where we would like to progress to the next round and the next round and so on. So that's a disappointing thing. To look a little bit bigger perspective, I think our performance were good. I think when it comes to like James Park, I think we created more shots than them. We looked much better in phase 1 and 2. I think we looked more clear in our attacking ways. I think we ended in some good situations. I think we really tested Ramsdale's at times. He had some fantastic saves. And then we had maybe 6 or 7 situations where it's like this, then we arrive in the right moment and we hopefully score. So I think that's the positive. And I think mentality was good.
It's often said, isn't it, key moments decide games, don't they? And I think that's probably the case tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's football sometimes is margins, and I think in a tight game it was margins. I think the first one, a set piece where we normally has been very good off diff. Always things we need to look at. I think the second one we lost the ball, and then we have to defend the box, and then it happens again. But Tony shouldn't go for the ball, just to stay in there. And I think actually would have catch it, but that is a decision you need to make, and it happened.
Okay, it's relentless at the moment, and there's a big game coming Saturday. But just an important thing, team news wise, I say we've lost Archie. Did everyone come through that as far as you're aware tonight?
As I'm aware, everyone should come through it fine. And now it's about come back quick, recover, be ready for big game on Saturday.
So that was Thomas Frank there on the back of Tottenham crashing out of the Carabao Cup to the hands of Newcastle United. I can tell you that Thomas Frank has said that Brennan Johnson will definitely be back in the team for the Chelsea match. Make of that what you will. He has said that. It doesn't stop at the moment here. Doesn't stop at the moment. Jason asked me where Wilson Odebear was, and I said to Jason, I think he was rested. He's not been rested. Wilson Odebear has a side strain which needs to be assessed. So we could be looking up to 11 injuries before the Chelsea game, and we've got to get past the Chelsea game. God, this football club, it's just crackers can't catch a break before match week 10 or after match week 10.
Rick, it's just there's too much football. This is the problem. It's too. I've probably done Ange a disservice last season because when we was getting all those injuries, it was like I was a little bit in that camp of, well, you know, we saw it at Celtic.
A lot of us were.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he's overtraining. But
away.
you are seeing it across the board. That there is a lot of clubs getting a lot of injuries. The mob down the road have got quite a few, but have thankfully got a deeper squad. Exactly. But then, you know, we are traipsing round the Far East and that every off season instead of giving people proper rest and taking in lots of money. So take in your lots of money and buy more and better players, or give them a rest. Don't have so much money and then hope that your smaller squad stays fitter. I mean, you know, it's crazy. But just to go with Frank's comments there, he's obviously telling us all that Kinski's going to get one big kick up the bollocks tomorrow morning in training, by the way, for that tonight. And for that second goal. But let's also not forget that Xavi Simons lost the ball and then literally just jogs back after, whereas he could have actually busted a gut to get back and may have got a foot in and disrupted that from actually happen. So, you know, because the ultimate mistake was down to Kinski, and it was a terrible call to come. You got no chance. You know, you're up against the German Peter Crouch, Peter Crouch, and but before that, there was a lot of players that could have affected that actually coming about. So if you are going to give Kinski that roasting tomorrow morning, standing next to him in headmaster's office does need to be one or two other players like Xavi Simons, who I'm certainly giving a little bit of leeway to with settling in, but that lack of tracking back, I don't care what age you are, that's a rule number one, that you bust a gut if you actually lose the ball and do that work. He would have learned that from 8-9 years old. So that's not an age thing. That's just an application thing. So he will need speaking to about that.
Yep, he will do.
The whole thing was a mess, wasn't it? It was a bad ball from Danso out. We kind of half win it in midfield, but still end up losing it. We don't close down the cross. You know, can Danso be a little bit tighter to Voldemort? There's you know, very few goals are down on one individual, and that was I mean, even before they actually broke on us, I think that's where Richie won the ball and then had a chance to play somebody and a chance to shoot, lost the ball, and they broke from that, and it ends up in our net 50 seconds later type of thing. So from the moment Richie lost the ball, there's 6 or 7 players that could have all done better on the goal than just Kinski alone. But for sure, that's the final mistake.
Yeah, and I think based on that, I mean, you do wonder when Kinski now gets his next opportunity. You probably imagine it'll be in the FA Cup, providing it's lower league opposition. It's not, with all due respect, the Premier League side, because you're risking the chance of going out there. And I think we all want to see the FA Cup taken very seriously this season, hopefully for the club and for the fans and for everybody. We touched upon the lineup there. Jason also touched upon it. Spurs, we're now missing 12 players for injury. That includes Archie Gray, who missed out of a calf strain. That also includes Wilson Odebear, who's got a side strain. He's going to be assessed. Vicario didn't travel with the squad, so Kinski was in from the start. Van der Ven and Kudus both were on the bench for Spurs. The argument would have been they had to be rested at some point. The argument you might ask yourself was, did they need to be rested here? Was it a risk going to Chelsea that we touched upon during the show already? João Palhinha filled in at centre-half, and Xavi Simons looked like he was on the left again, although beforehand, Frank did tell ITV that Simons would be playing in the pocket. So Tottenham's team was Kinski, Porro, Danto, Palhinha, Spence, Benson, Corsard, Johnson, Bergvall, Xavi, Richarlison. We laugh and joke about the fact that at the start, it wasn't actually at the start, first international break came, Thomas Frank named this 5-man leadership group. 3 are injured, 1 hadn't made the trip, and the other was on the bench, which meant Pedro Porro captained the side. For Newcastle United, they made 8 changes for this one. Ramsdale, Kraft, Thor, Schar, Byrne, Tonali, Ramsey, Willock, Elanga, Barnes, Woltemade, all starting for them. But, actually in the early periods, there was applause from Frank to Kinski over his distribution a few times. He actually made quite an assuring start. But Newcastle did take the lead, and Frank was absolutely furious. Now, Marlon, I'll come to you for this. Jed Spence took an age to put his boot on, stood up, wasn't back in position. Tonali then swung in a corner, Schar headed home, and Frank was going at it with the fourth official. But the real mistake, you could argue, was that the goal itself, Danso clearing the cross for a corner because he didn't hear Kinski, or overtly Kinski didn't call for the ball. What did you make of the overall mess of this first goal, Marlon, how it comes about?
Well, first of all, Spence is doing shithousery on that with his boot, so they couldn't take the corner. The ref blows the whistle, but for some reason, none of the Spurs players heard it when Spence was down, so Newcastle were ready to go. And none of them were ready because they were waiting for Spence to get back in position. This is their own mess. This is their own mess from start to finish. They can't blame anyone else but themselves, because I'm sitting far away and I'm assuming and I heard the ref blow his whistle, so I was fully aware that he was basically saying to Spence, "You're taking the piss, yeah, because you've literally he's in that little 10-yard box where they're not supposed to be, so that's why he's done his boot up there." When he's moved out of it, but he's blowing his whistle to say to whoever the corner taker was, I can't remember who it was at the time, say you can take it as soon as he's out. Spurs should be organised. There should be someone there organising them to make sure they're ready, because I'm pretty sure most of them heard that, because if the corner taker can hear it, then players in the box can hear that referee blow the whistle. But look at them, hands on hips, all nothing. The Newcastle players are ready to go. Look, Richarlison's talking to Danso, so they're not even. You can clearly see they're not ready. So, but look, they've only got themselves to blame, and then none of them want to win that ball. You can blatantly see none of them went daring or putting their body on the line to go win that ball. Hence the reason why we've conceded. And it was very close to Kinski. And again, he probably, if that's Vicario, he saves that probably, because that's Vicario's bread and butter. But unfortunately, the header beat him, and we're 1-0 down. But it's the reaction from it, which was okay. But then we come out in the second half, and it's the same again. Not ready, not prepared, just all over the place.
Jace, we laughed and joked actually before the game, and you were saying to me, I know you're going to say here now, we were joking, saying to me, look at the amount of work we're doing beforehand on set pieces, and then we concede from one. It looked like at one point that Barnes nudged Bergvall into Danso when the defender tried to jump for the ball with Schar. But, you can say it's crafty, but that's exactly the same thing that we did a week or so ago up at the Hill Dickinson. So you can't argue about it. I think the frustration would be is, how are we outnumbered in our own box defending a corner? Can you work that out, Jace? We'll get you to unmute. We'll get you to unmute, Jace. Go for it.
If you hold that image, first of all,
yeah,
you've got Porro, I think it was Porro and Richie. If you're organised at a corner so everyone knows their jobs, Porro's, I think that's Richie, or is it Xavi Simons with Porro? Porro's clearly telling him where to go. You think, and look how many black and white shirts, don't have a single yellow person anywhere near them. So whatever the setup we were doing before the game, Newcastle obviously thought, well, you can practice on that setup, because we're not going to take our corners, anything like that. That's a whole mess, isn't it? If Spence is going to delay until he gets his boot on, as Marlon says, as soon as he's down there, get another one over there until Spence is ready to take it. So Spence gets back in the middle. That's totally on our fault, and you can't blame the referee and say, oh, perhaps he should have given Tottenham more time, because if that's up the other end, we'd be fuming if the referee just allowed somebody to tie their boot up, wouldn't we, and delay our corner. So that's down to organisation on the pitch. I'm sure Thomas Frank will look at that and the set piece coaches and say, what the hell did we think about all week and in the preparation before the kickoff and end up being in that situation? I suppose, I don't know if they had a corner before that, and you perhaps need to, because they showed one, didn't they, before that, where Spence, I think, headed clear. You'd have to see our set up properly. Yeah. You'd have to see our set up properly at that corner and put the two pictures next to each other. But that is an absolute mess. That corner from start, it was a mess how we conceded the corner. It's a total mess from the moment they took the corner, and that is totally down to Tottenham, not the referee. Don't blame the referee for that.
No, but just on that point, just for the balance of play here, Cracks, it was awful set piece defending. It was curious, it was weak, and we mentioned the fact Spence is out of position. Just to make devil's advocate, the argument would also maybe be, what's the point of stopping play for Spence to tie his laces and then not let him get back into position? Or do you put that firmly down to our own inability of sorting ourselves out, Cracks?
No, it's totally on us. And as we said, the whole thing was a clown's car on fire, wasn't it? Kinski doesn't give Danso a call. And it wasn't even that Danso didn't hear it. It just never come. So Kinski's got to be better to give the call there. Danso's done the right thing because he's heard nothing and probably doesn't know what's going on behind him. So he does the safe thing that defenders do. And then from there, it's just a farce. And there's no rule with regards to being ready as such, because he was doing his boot. Okay, maybe he did have to loosen every lace to be able to get it back on and get the boot correct. But there's no rule. The whistle had gone and he got back out of that area which allowed the corner to be taken, and take it they did. But that was in microcosm the kind of attitudes that both teams went into the game. They were bristling and sharp and up for it and wanted to win tonight. And we was a bit, okay, lads, go out there, do your best. Don't forget we've got Chelsea on Sunday. That's how the whole thing kind of felt. I mean, how much time do you give Spence to get back? Get back? Okay, is your boot okay? Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. Want to adjust your jock strap or anything, or pull your sock up, or tuck your shirt in, or how much time do you give somebody? Be switched on, be snappy, be ready, be organised. And to be missing one person and to bring the whole thing down or not have them quite in position says a lot about the whole setup that we had to defend that corner. So, okay, the phase before it was a mess. Make sure the next phase, i.e. defending the corner, isn't. And it wasn't. And the whole thing just ended up a mess, an absolute mess of our own doing. Not the refs, not anybody else's.
We've also seen that they won't give a penalty if the ball's not in play. So, and we see so many bundles at corners. Just cause a bundle in the penalty area before they take the corner. And then by the time the referee sorts that out, Spence is back in position. So absolutely don't blame the referee. And like I say, if that's at the other end, we'd want to take that corner quickly ourselves. And we'd call that good play.
Yeah. And look, we've made our own judgments from corners like we saw last week at the Hill Dickinson. We played them to our advantage as well. Look, after that, Barnes hit the bar from a few yards out. Newcastle would argue should have been 2-0, great opportunity for them. But Spurs were having a much better part of the spell after going 1-0 behind. There's a couple of really lovely moves, but Richarlison, as we've discussed a lot of the show already, just quite not in the right place to finish them off. And then again, that was the main frustration of the night, that if you had a genuine centre forward that I was alluding to, I think on half-time on X, I said, if you gave us a genuine centre forward here, we've got a chance of not only getting back into the game, but winning it. And I think that was the frustration that we spent most of that half, creating chances, but really, just could not finish them off. There was a final piece of action before the break where Xavi Simons hit a shot that was tipped over and a goal kick was given, which was pretty much really kind of that feeling that it's not going to really be our night. Look, we're going to quickly hear from Pedro Porro, who gives us his reaction to that result. And before we go, we're going to hear from Thomas Frank, who gives a brief look to Chelsea, of course, on Saturday. And that's where, of course, we'll be closing the show as to our feelings on how Spurs are going to be ready to go again for Chelsea at the weekend. Let's quickly hear from Pedro Porro, who reacts to Spurs going out the Cup to Newcastle.
Okay, Pedro's here at St James's. Pedro, just give us your thoughts on the performance.
It's the first point is disappointing, no? I think it's for us, for all fans coming today in the night in Wednesday. I think for me, myself, and the whole team, thank you so much for the support today. I think it's bad result for them, no, and for us, I think. But I love the mentality, the team, no, because you can see the goal in the set pieces. This is happened in football, but stay in the game. Start the second half. You can set again other goal, and the best for today is the fans. Thank you so much, and keep coming Saturday in game and keep coming. Yeah.
Some of our football going forward was good, wasn't it? I mean, we created some chances. Couple across the goal from Richarlison, just wide. I mean, we had some chances out there.
Yeah, I think we play well in the first half. A little combination inside, maybe stay with the ball one more second for the last pass, or maybe in this moment you need one people more in the area. Sometimes football is there, no, but I think the most important today is the mentality. We push everything in the pitch. You lose this game, disappointed because the last season you arrive in the semi-final and you lose in Anfield, no. But I think it's for me the other team, them is good, no. The atmosphere is for me incredible, and this is important for the game. But we know have a new game in Saturday and on Sunday, Saturday, and in the afternoon, and we go there.
So yeah, it was Pedro Porro. So sorry. I shouldn't be laughing. I was trying to make the most of what they said in that interview there. We might have the crackers for a translation. I'm so sorry. I was just, you know what?
Do you know what, Rick? Do you know what you should have said? Un coche de payaso en fuegos. A clown's car on fire.
You know what? Pedro's been here for like 3-4 years. And it's like, when you're hearing what he's saying, you just think, I've heard this so many times after cup exits that, even if he thinks he might be able to dress it up in a bit more of a Spanish accent to make it sound even more sexier, it still freaking hurts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, to be fair,
I've got to say, God bless him. He's trying his best as well. English is not his first language.
No.
Let's be very, very clear. I'm not
clearly
criticising Porro. I'm just criticising the fact that you're trying to get over the defeat, and bless him, it's like we've heard this before.
He's tried to find some words to convey. Thanks for coming tonight, and we let you down. I can tell you that he done better in English than I would in Spanish, and I've been here 6 years, so. Well, make of that what you will. So he's tried to find some words. If you'd have asked him in Spanish, he would have probably given you a much more detailed answer. But he's bless him. He's had a good go, and that was that. So
he looks like. He looks like he's been playing with Richarlison for 90 minutes. That's what he looks like. Second half. I mean, like I say, didn't really get started, did we? Second half, and there were big problems obviously when Woltemade headed home. Kinski got nowhere near it. I mean, we've discussed the goal to death, but very quickly, Jace, do you imagine Kinski's next chance will be in the FA Cup? You can't imagine you'll probably see him beforehand, will you?
Unless of an injury, mate. That's the only way you'll get in, isn't it?
How pressing is the goalkeeping situation now? We're going from one extreme to another now. I was telling you a couple of weeks ago worried about Vicario. I mean, have we even got an adequate backup now in Kinski? Or do you think does he do better if he has had more game time? Do you put those mistakes down tonight to simply lack of game time, or is that more what Frank seemed to allude to actually in his in-house Spurs interview, that just a lack of judgment there in terms of the second goal, especially, Jace?
Well, is that the same number of games as Aaron Ramsdale? How did Aaron Ramsdale do today? You know, in fairness,
he's got the basics wrong tonight. And whether you're not getting too much game time, he's not called for a ball that was clearly his. That's a basic. That's not game time. That's a basic that he's not got right. And he's come for a ball he shouldn't come for. Another basic. He knows he's not. He's panicked and he's come for it. So maybe the second one a little bit lack of game time, but he should know, being a goalkeeper for all of his life, on that one he had to stick. He had to stick, and he came, and it never came off. So that wasn't lack of game time. That was basics that he got wrong.
And also, Rick, you know, different goalkeeper coaches. Different one last year, different one this year. Vicario came straight back in last year when they've worked with Kinski, and Thomas Frank's not chosen Kinski despite all the noise around Kinski this season. He's gone with Vicario every time he's had the chance to. So, you know, they do see them every day, and you know, I think there's maybe a little bit of misunderstanding when Tottenham have been linked with a goalkeeper this season. I've said it within our groups. I think they're looking for a goalkeeper, not to replace necessarily Vicario at the moment, but to replace Kinski, because I think they have a few concerns that he is the one, or they think for the second half of the season, it's better to loan Kinski out and get him regular game time, in which case we need another number 2 for the second half of the season. But I don't think they're looking to replace Vicario in January whatsoever. I think Kinski's the worry, that they don't see him as pushing Vicario, and you can't just leave Vicario out for 6 games just to give Kinski a run out, unless you think he is genuinely capable of being your number 1, which I don't think they do at the moment.
Marlon, you know, I think he's quite good with his feet. I don't think that's the debate. It's more the fact that, you know, his decision making seems to be the concern. I mean, I look back at that Villa game we had last year in the cup. The ball went right through his hands. Again tonight, like Crackers has said, he's not called for the first one. If he has called, they certainly haven't heard it. The second goal, there's a lack of judgment there. Is that worrying with regards to the fact that the number 2 clearly at the moment doesn't feel up to scratch?
Yeah, definitely. It was clear from day one that we knew what the problems were with him straight away. But the problem we've got now is that we've got our number 1. And all the stuff he's terrible at, our number 2 is good at. But the problem is you have to weigh up a decision. What do you need more? And at the moment, Vicario is the way better goalkeeper. He's had more time. He's older. And again, yeah, his decision making is so much more better than Kinski's at the moment. And I agree with Jason. At the present moment, you've either got to loan Kinski out for 6 months and see if he can handle being somewhere as a first team goalkeeper and whether he'll ever make it at Tottenham, or you have to start looking elsewhere for better replacements long term, because at the present moment, the way we want to play and the way Frank's probably going to want to play in the future, both these goalkeepers are nowhere near basically what David Raya is, and that's that's basically where that was the starting point for for Thomas Frank, and then he got Flecken, and Flecken, yes, made his mistakes, but they were always looking for a goalkeeper after that. So it's Raya's the one, when you look at it, that we are trying to aim and where we need to be. And both our goalkeepers right now, because obviously Vicario is not good with his feet. He's not good with his feet at all. And yes, Raya had some problems at Arsenal at the beginning, but as soon as he was made number 1 and that was it, look at him since. And he's got a decent back four in front of him. So, even when we've got Romero and Van der Ven, we're still asking questions about Vicario, and that's the biggest issue. And I always said, until I see Kinski with Vicario and Van der Ven, then I'll start making a bit of a better decision on him. But looking at the way he's been since January and then where he is tonight, yeah, he needs a loan for 6 months. He probably just needs to go somewhere and have that first team football. And then we can see when he comes back whether he's learned anything or whether we need to start thinking bigger and better.
Guys, on that point for us.
Yeah, it's just worth it, in fairness to Kinski. Don't forget, when he came in 6 months earlier than they wanted him to. They did actually want him to be playing regular first team football, but because of the injury scenario and the fact that the backup goalie to Vic was a lamppost who was 36-year-old with his pensioner's walking stick that couldn't dive and things like that, we ended up having to bring Kinski in. So, Kinski's lost out on probably 2 or 3 months proper game time because he ended up having to bring his signing forward. And even then, we couldn't use him in Europe, did we? We still had to use Brandon Austin in the European games. So, in fairness to Kinski, he's still he's nowhere near as developed as they'd ideally want him to be.
No, I totally agree. I think Paul makes a great point here. Paul Russell, regular viewer and listener. Paul, thanks so much. Paul says here, Kelleher would have been a great bargain, 13 million. I'm not sure, though, if Liverpool would have sold to Tottenham. I mean, it's a lot easier for Liverpool to sell to Brentford than Tottenham, Jace, right? Maybe?
Well, and plus the fact, if Kelleher's going to leave Liverpool, he's not going to leave to be a backup goalkeeper, is he? If Kelleher comes in, he wants to be the number one.
Number one. Wants to be number one.
I still think they see Vicario as a better goalkeeper than some of us see him, that's for sure. And the personality of him and things like that.
So look, Spurs made a couple of changes. They came a little bit later than I think what a lot of fans wanted. We saw Rana Kalamawani, Mohamed Kudus come on for Rodrigo Bentancur, Brennan Johnson. Jess, I'll let you take this one. Tottenham fans seemed to cheer as Brennan Johnson was subbed off for Mo Kudus. Brennan Johnson, again, few and far between starts this season. Is this Brennan's role right now in terms of being a squad option rather than a first-team player when he's scored 18 goals last season? A player that I know for some out there is a real frustration given when he's playing games, all he used to do is score, and that's it. I mean, what is Brennan's role right now at Tottenham for you?
I think it is. He's a backup player at the moment because, Kudus will clearly start the game at the weekend, won't he? For sure. And Kudus, unless he gets injured, will start the Man United game and he'll start the Arsenal game straight after the break. So he's been our brightest forward. The problem is everyone that moans about Johnson, what does he do? What does he do? Who else is doing anything in that front line? So, he was our top scorer last year. He did win us a European trophy, but neither Rodabert or Tell or Richie is any more convincing than Johnson, is it? So that's where the problem is at the moment. I'm totally in favour of people saying get rid of Johnson if there's 3 or 4 players playing him better than him week in, week out. But there's not. And, what does he do other than score? Well, tell me what Odegaard does. Tell me what Tell does. Tell me what Richie does. They don't even score.
Nope.
So that's the part of the problem, isn't it?
Thanks for on that.
Johnson's part of that. Are we going to be ruthless and cull some players to try and go up to this next level that ENIC have been promising us? So, he does score some goals, and I think that bought him a little bit of leeway to maybe start improving with his crossing and 1 or 2 other issues and parts of his game, but that's clearly not progressing. So you now go, okay, he's not the answer. But as Jason quite rightly said, there's others there that are also not the answer and not scoring. So you have to start looking to say, okay, right, we need to maybe move him on and then try and find that next level of player to take us as a team to the next level. So he really will be, as King Oddle's saying on the screen there, the ruthlessness litmus test. That's a bit of a tongue twister, but he's right. If we start to cull players or move on players like Johnson and bring in better quality, then we are moving on. But at the moment, he might not be Mr. Right, but he is Mr. Right now because of lack of options elsewhere.
So on that basis, Cracks has mentioned there, Miles, do you need to find a way of getting Johnson into this team right now, given the lack of goals amongst the front four? Marlon, where are you on that?
I've said it for weeks. We need to put him in this team because we're not scoring. Kudus is our only outlet at the moment, and we don't have Konawani's not been about. Richarlison's not good enough. Tell we've been moaning about for 6 months anyway. Odegaard, he's come in, but he doesn't really. He's no end product, so there's no goals and assists that come with him. And unfortunately, yes, we know what we're going to get with Johnson, but somehow we need to fit him in this team because we need goals. And how that's going to fit in, I don't know at this present moment. This is where I go, this is what Thomas Frank's being paid for, because everyone's been moaning for the last couple of weeks. This is what happens when you take Maddison, Kulusevski, Solanke out, you take away this many goals. But our top goal scorer from last season is still fit, still able to play, but it's just not in the team because Frank has clearly come in and seen the problems that we all had with Brennan Johnson is that actually on the ball and everything else like that is his biggest issue. But the other problem we've got now is that we're not scoring goals because you've taken him out of that situation, and he's somehow got to sort this out. Why, especially now that we've got injuries, he's somehow got to fit him in. Because if you look at it tonight, if Richarlison is a better striker, Johnson probably has 2 assists in that first half, and nobody will even mention Johnson after that. They'll be like, oh. And that's the difference. It's because we don't have the people up top to even help him. And Kudus is the same. And I'm going to say this, probably Xavi Simons is in the same boat because what's happening up top at the moment is just not good enough for us.
Yeah.
And on the left at the moment as well, it's causing an issue for everyone else. And it may be that in the next few months, when Solanke's back, when Kolomoani's up to scratch, and we can fill that void on the left, maybe it is going to be Moani, what it looks like from what we saw when he came on tonight. Maybe that's when we'll see a better Johnson. We'll see a better Kudus. His output will be better. Maybe Xavi Simons will have a better output. Bergvall as well. We'll start to see more. But at the present moment, Johnson's got to be in this team while we've got these injuries because we know he will score goals.
Yeah, just very quickly, Crack, to ask you about Xavi Simons. Where are you on Xavi Simons? You said earlier that he didn't really bust a gut to help get back for the second goal. What are you making of Xavi in a Spurs shirt so far? Does he need a bit more time? I mean, it's such early days, I think. I know Marlon said for him, he maybe take him out of the team, which to be fair is being reflected a lot by a lot of listeners who are actually coming back from the game that are tuning into the show. They're also suggesting maybe Xavi needs to come out of the team. But then, with our lack of goals right now, what options have we got? We've got 10 injuries, 11 injuries at the moment. I mean, do you think he played into form, Cracks? What do you think of Xavi Simons?
That's for the coaching team to know the nature of him. Is he somebody that would sink even further if he got dropped, or does he need to be kept playing and being told, okay, it's not happening, but we believe in you, and make him feel a bit 10 foot tall? That's, this is where Thomas Frank and his coaches come in and earn the big bucks, because they'll know whether he's a stick or a carrot player, or an arm around the shoulder or a kick up the arse type. So they'll have to sort of take a look at that, take a look at the type of character he is. There's a player in there. There absolutely is a player in there. And what does it take managing him as a person and a personality to get that out? So that's the calls they've got to make. There's some big calls coming up at Tottenham. Like with Kinski, would he be better? I'm not so sure. If he had a Romero and a VDV in front of him, is that unsettled centre-back pairing in front of him been part of the reason why he hasn't performed? Would Johnson be better if he's got some of the players that are out around him that are feeding him a better ball or giving him a better option for an outlet? So these are all things that they need to consider. It's you kind of hope that you get all those players back that we've currently got, a settled 11 for a run of a few good games, and then you look at those players that you're 50-50 on, like a Brennan Johnson, and then does he improve as a player once he's got those others around him? Because in a football team, like no man's an island, are they? You play well if the one behind you is feeding you ball, and you look like you're playing well if the one in front you're feeding to as well. So, but Frank and Thomas Frank, Lang and Paratici and whoever else is in charge of it has to sit back and go, yeah, probably he improves if he get the players back around him, or no, I think even if those players are back, they're not for us. So big decisions coming down the track.
I think as well, Rick. It's one thing to say leave him out of the team, but so we leave Siemens out, we leave Johnson,
I'm not
we leave
advocating leaving
Johnson
him
out, we drop Richie. There's no Alderbear to come in. What are we going to do? We're going to play. We've only got three centre halves fit. We've only got three fullbacks. What are we going to do? We can't change the game to a five-a-side game. You know, someone's got to play.
We'll go along there. We'll come back for Rio.
It's not five-a-side football anymore. We've got to find 11 players.
Junior Byfield's available, bless him, in the youth. I tell you, John Wenham might have to start.
Apparently, Byfield's broken his arm.
God, I tell you what, it's all
apparently Byfield's broken an arm yesterday or today or something. So that's why he's not even on the bench tonight, Byfield.
We've got to get to Chelsea and then get past Chelsea. Quick word, actually, you know what? I mean, one thing I did like at all, very quickly, just again, bit of an off-topic subject. Everyone wants to take this, but Joe Linton. I mean, I know the Newcastle fans love him, but I mean, Jace, you put your hands up in your air there. I mean, that tackle we saw late in the game on Kudus. I mean, just nasty, wasn't it, Jace? I mean, there's an element of respect, surely, to a fellow professional, but surely that massively oversteps the mark. That tackle. I mean, it was almost scissor behind him. What did you make of that, Jace?
Looks like a sexual move to me. That's all I could think of. I said when he came on, didn't I? They'll bring in Thug Linton on, and he does it. It constantly goes around with thuggery. Him, Robertson, McGinn, and Cucurella. Those four just do it week in. I don't think Cash does it as maybe against us, but I don't think he does it to the degree that Joe Linton does. He did it even in the game in Korea, didn't he?
Yep.
With who was it? With Bergvall he took down, or was it Archie Gray? Wasn't it? He took down. He's just a complete and utter thug that's on the pitch and gets away with it time and time again. And I just don't know how. But you know, like I say, those four players, him, Andy Robertson, John McGinn and Cucurella, the four of them do my head in, that they do it week in, week out.
Rick,
what we're missing. I think we're missing someone like that. I do, and the reason why I'm saying that, because tonight the boys, they come out for that second half, they're half-hearted, and there's so many games we asked the players to show a bit of heart, and yes, it was a striker's tackle.
Yeah, but is that even heart though, Miles? That's but
it is. But you think, what does that do for the rest of the Newcastle players when he's going in like that? He's going to be behind you.
It gets the crowd up. I mean, it gets the crowd up.
It gets the crowd up. And unfortunately, this is what it does. And all the players you mentioned, that Jason mentioned, look what it brings to the rest of the team. And unfortunately, Spurs, we've kind of got to come out of this mentality that we can't have someone like that. And be in that sense. I remember Stefan Friend used to be he used to go around tackling everybody and he used to get the team up. He wasn't the greatest player, but that's what he does. And I think if we had someone like Joe Linton in the squad, it will kind of get everyone else going into what we kind of need right now, because I think we've got a soft underbelly, and this is the biggest problem. Like, he's not the greatest player. He's a striker. He's a striker gone midfielder, and Eddie Howe's turned him into. But he's in probably, if you put Joe Linton, Tonali, and Bruno as a free, look how vital that is for Newcastle.
Yeah, no, I get that. 100% I get that.
The tackle's terrible. The tackle is a proper striker. He's never been able to tackle. He's a forward player who they've converted and somehow, but at the end of the day, that keeps them in the game. That keeps everyone going, actually, Newcastle are going to be fighting for this 2-0 win. And maybe you're right, Marlon.
You know, again, maybe it's about that. You know, you say that about the energy that he does bring to the side and that element of that fight and grit.
And a lot of us Premier League fans will hate to see it, but actually, when you've got it in your team, you're going to be behind it. Like, it's like the whole thing with Richarlison when he's the whole shithousery thing. It's all right when it's against. It's we all hate it when it's against you, but when it was with you, we were all praising him for doing it. You know, when he was doing the kick ups and Brennan Johnson took him out. Do you remember how we were all reacting? So it's one of those with Joe Linton.
Yeah. Cracks, any words on that for you? What did you make of that incident very quickly? It was just
I get the feeling, Rick, that when you get the analytics for the downloads of this show, and they normally put them up on a world map, there's going to be quite a large gap in South America down that down that west coast, isn't there? You're not getting many downloads from Brazil tonight. We've been quite down on the Brazilians.
Oh, Romero's not playing, so we're definitely missing out.
But yeah, it was. I mean, it was an unbelievable tackle. Well, it wasn't even a tackle. It was like an assault. Yeah, exactly. But that's what fans do, isn't it? That's exactly what they do. But I kind of. I hear Marlon loud and clear that maybe you do need a player that does that. And to an extent, Paulinho does do that, but he's just so clean and good at it that sometimes, you might, he's the perfectly roast potato when sometimes you could do with a few dirty fries, couldn't you? So it's, maybe it does. It gets the crowd up. It gives a bit of energy. You get the odd yellow card, but it's all just in the mix and meld and blend of a side, isn't it? And maybe we do need one or two that do it. Romero used to, but then he obviously got his card marked by the press and social media and everything. So, he's had to rein that in now, because every time he done it, he was a marked man for it. But it was quite the tackle, wasn't it?
It was. Look, we're going to quickly go for 5. We're going to hear from Thomas Frank to give us an update on where we stand for Chelsea on injuries. I'm going to give a quick 5 with the boys with Chelsea in mind as to where this result leaves us now in preparation for Chelsea. Let's quickly hear from Thomas Frank, who gives us the update of where Spurs are and who they've got available going into Chelsea at the weekend. Let's quickly hear from Thomas Frank in a bit more detail. 2 or 3 minutes, guys, this one. Let's quickly hear from Thomas.
Hey, Thomas.
Hey.
What did you make of the game and the performance?
I think it was a very even game. Where I think it was a small margin that decided it. I think our overall performance was good. I think the way we played the game, especially in how we built it from behind phase 1, especially phase 2. I think we controlled the game much more. I think we had some short connection in the middle of the pitch. I think we found Lucas and Schar in good position. So I think it was one of our better offensive performances for the season. You could say it was not like we created 500% chances, but we created some really big chances. I think Bramston had some really good saves. And then I think we had 6-7 very good moments where Richarlison arriving half a second too late. The final pass could have had even more cutting-edge quality to have created even more. So overall, I'm happy with the performance. Of course, I'm super disappointed that we lost, and I'm super disappointed we're out. We'd love to progress and be in the draw tonight.
It seems like a slightly different system in the past couple of games. It seems to be freeing up the teams to see well.
Freeing what, sorry?
Freeing them up a little bit more, and they're getting on the ball a little bit more and having more impact in open play. Yeah. Is that kind of encouraging as well to see that progression?
Yeah, definitely. I think both Everton and Newcastle, both games, I think looked much more better in the structure we tried to build, to hit players in the space between lines if that opened up, or of course around if it's too closed. But you're right, I think first half against Everton had it. I think throughout this game, I think we found good positions.
Yeah, and I presume Ricard was just kind of left out for similar reasons to Doncaster.
He had a smaller thing he had to be done. He's ready for Chelsea.
And then Oliver.
Oliver had a side strain, unfortunately, that kept him out for this game. Also, we need to assess him, but it could look positive for Chelsea.
Yeah, there's been a few kind of injuries building up. Is this something I suppose you're kind of concerned about?
No, I of course would like to have everyone fit and available. We know injury is part of it. It's up to me to find solutions. I think some of the ones we had is relatively, or how can you say, unlucky. Is how quick you get them back. But contacting an injury to Madison, Basuma, knee thing with Destiny, can't do too much about that. I think there was another dumb miss, hit the ball. That's
Right. Thomas, you were quite animated in the first half, and so were your coaching staff, with a few of maybe the decisions, the Jamie Simmons shot at the end that wasn't given a corner. And also, your players seem to be unhappy with the first goal. Was that because Spence wasn't allowed to get back into position?
Yeah, I think that was clear. I think for me we conceded 2 goals because of 2 mistakes, in my opinion. Unfortunately, the ref was part of the mistake in the first one. I'm not saying there's things we can't do better, but his boots is off. He needs to tie his shoelace, tie his boot. And you can clearly see on the footage afterwards that the whole boot is off, so you need to do it. And it's minute 23. It's not like we had delayed the game for 10 minutes and we are 1-0 up. It's common sense to allow him time to get in. So as soon as he had the boot on, the ref let it go. And then to make it perfect, Jet's man he had to mark was Schar that scored. So that's why we were very animated. I think that was the biggest one. I think the rest was fine. There's always small bits you can be irritated about, but it's very difficult to ref a game. But this, for me, was a unfortunately big mistake. And then we made a mistake ourselves on the second one. So small margins decided the game today.
And you see how many changes Newcastle were able to make. They had a lot of freshness from the bench, a really strong bench. You rested Mickey, but you did play the likes of Rodrigo and Zhao. How difficult was it to pick your team today?
Yeah, it was very difficult, to be honest. You say Newcastle made 8, we made 4. But I think we made 4 because we wanted to compete. And I think we competed. Unfortunately, we just dropped out on the wrong end of it. So of course, that you say in a busy schedule, how can it's a balance to make a very competitive team that can perform, tactical, still can hit the criteria we want to hit to whatever, if it's Everton 4 changes, Newcastle 4 changes and Chelsea on Saturday. So some you need to rest, other you need to be able to perform. So of course I'm very disappointed we couldn't continue. We have 5,000 fans traveling, so more than pleased, happy that they're traveling this long way and on a late night and give us all the backing. So unfortunately we couldn't give them back with a win.
Just on Archie as well, I assume maybe he would have been in line to start tonight.
He would have started.
Is that a training injury or something?
He got a contact to the calf in Monaco. And probably in there or whatever also picked up a calf strain. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so there you go. That was Thomas Frank there, who gives us a decisive update as to where we are going into Chelsea, of course, on Saturday. So Archie Gray out, Wilson Odebear doubtful. No updates at the moment on Christian Romero, Destiny Adogi. He will be holding, I believe, a press conference on Friday where we'll get another update from him. He was asked actually in that press conference there with regards to, is there a concern that the injuries are building up? I mean, Chelsea, very quick on this, boys, because we know, again, it's always a tricky game to navigate at home to Chelsea. We know how difficult that game has been. Cracks, what's your gut feeling going into Chelsea? Will that be a real knock in confidence of that defeat?
Well, I mean, what you do now is because you've rotated tonight, you go out and beat Chelsea Saturday. Simple. And then that goes some way to justifying making some changes tonight, doesn't it? So that's what you do. You bounce back, you come back, you pick your best team. You tell them you go out there, don't make the silly mistakes that you made tonight, learn from them tonight, put them right on Saturday. I kind of think that Frank knows exactly where we are and who's who and what's what and what's needed. He drops some little hints and between the lines comments that you hear. And I'm sure tomorrow he'll get in, he'll speak to the players that he needs to speak to, and then I would think he's probably going to be up and taking a couple of doors off with Paratici's office and 1 or 2 at the board and start telling them what's needed to put these things right. And a lot of it is just bringing in some better personnel, which ENIC with Daniel Levy have promised us. So, hurrah. roll on January. But no, Saturday we need to be competitive. We've seen tonight. Okay, they had some changes, but Chelsea haven't been pulling up any trees, have they? They were a few up and then gave away goals to Wolves. So get out there on Saturday and get at this team and just know your job, do your job, and see where it takes us. But a win on Saturday, as I say, goes a long way to justifying what we've done tonight with rotating, because we clearly haven't played the game in front of us tonight. We've played with one big beady eye on the weekend.
Interesting. Miles, has come to you. You're back with me for Chelsea on Saturday. What are we expecting from this Tottenham team, Tottenham squad, Tottenham side?
Same old, unfortunately.
Do you think so? I mean, because it's not a great Chelsea side. No Palmer in there. They've been fairly consistent for a lot of the season.
Have you started to support someone else that I don't know about?
I'm just trying to build us back up for Chelsea. We need a statement win at home, don't we? We need a statement at home.
We do need a statement win, and I
beat Chelsea at home, and the mood feels a lot different, doesn't it? I'm not saying that we're all completely down the dumps tonight, but we're frustrated to be out of a cup competition. That, let's be honest about it, like Jason said at the start of the show, it's an opportunity to win.
I've got a feeling, to be like in all seriousness, I've got a feeling it's a draw coming on Saturday. I think it's going to be, like you said, they're not great, but Norway. And I think that's the problem. And defensively, we're okay. And Van der Ven will be back. Vicario will be back. It'll be normal back four. It'll be Benson, Core, and Paulinho in midfield, which I know a lot of people don't want to see, but it's going to be. And I just think, personally, I think what will probably happen, we'll either go 1-0 down, and then we'll probably score in the last 10 minutes again. Like that, and that's me being serious. That's how I expect to see a draw on Saturday. I can't. Look, if we win, it'd be great, but I don't think we're going to do them on the set pieces like we do other teams. I think they're just a bit more better equipped than the other teams that we've played, and they'll probably prepare for it and making sure that we don't get many corners. And if the throw-ins are like they were tonight, come on, we'll get one good one in the box. But we got to put pilot on Sanchez because he's not great. He's not the best goalkeeper.
Not great. He's suspect.
He's suspect, and that's where if we are gonna get anything, it's gonna be from him having a clanger.
Yeah, and look, again, with the amount of injuries we've got out, we need players to turn up, the likes of Xavi, the likes of Mawani. Jace, I know you hate this fixture. I'm coming to you last on this point here to try and rally the troops here for Chelsea at home. I know even you can't maybe stump yourself to go there at the weekend. Is the attitude the most important thing? Because, home performances really, they've been really few and far between, right? The home displays have not been anywhere near good enough this season under Frank. How much do you think he could do with a statement win at home and it being to Chelsea? Could that maybe be the change in that home form, maybe, if we can beat Chelsea?
Well, go some way to changing it for sure. And you're right, he needs a big win at home. We need a big win at home. But, we are cursed with them, aren't we? When you go back, AVB's first defeat at home, Chelsea, Poch lost games to Chelsea at home. Ange loses to Chelsea. Stellini managed to beat them, didn't he? But, Conte lost to them three times.
You're not suggesting we bring Stellini back for this one, are you?
Conte lost for 3 times in the space of a week to them, didn't he, at home?
Yeah.
Jose's first home defeat, I think, was to them when Sonny got sent off. It's just... I swear we'll be 4-0 up with 10 minutes to go and there's a floodlight failure, mate. The game's abandoned. It's just has that ring to it. It's just... I don't know what happens in that game. Just anything that can go wrong happens in it. So we need a result for sure. We need a home win. We need a result against them. But, when you say, Rick, they don't look a great side, we don't look a great side, certainly at home, do we?
No, not at home we don't. Not at home
we need our best team on the pitch. We need our best players to really perform.
Agreed.
So hopefully Kolo Muani still showed a few nice touches and great run through the middle until the referee back-heeled the ball for him, which was, get out the bloody way. But, if he can continue a little bit of fitness and get himself going, who knows? But you don't approach it with much confidence, do I? That's for sure.
If the football gods are actually with us on Saturday, watch Richarlison bag one mad hat trick. You watch. That is just Tottenham. That's just football, isn't it? It will be a Richarlison hat trick on Saturday, and we'll all be howling him as the king of South America.
Got to get a new contract.
Yeah, get him signed up. Yeah, exactly. That's the mad world that we live in of Tottenham, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I say, focus does turn back to the league, and again, it's at early stages, but it's another opportunity to win a trophy gone. That's the frustration. I know Jay said that as well about the Super Cup. Great chance there, 2-0 up, make changes, don't get the win. Carabao Cup now out, and it does feel like I say it's all eyes already on the FA Cup, but it doesn't really begin until what? Late November, early December. So yeah, gonna be interesting. I couldn't understand that even before the game. And I look, there's some fans out there that suggested that'd be great for the fixture schedule not to have the Carabao Cup, which really surprised me. Again, it's a real genuine opportunity to win a trophy. And those last 8 teams that are in it there, they're all for they've got a chance, to go and win a trophy. And you saw what I meant to Newcastle fans last season. They're delighted to be going through again. They're holders. They want to retain it. So bitterly frustrating to go out. I hate, as everyone knows, cup defeats, cup exits, but we've got to turn our mind to Chelsea where...
Third round of the FA Cup draw, Rick. And the balls go into the velvet bag. That's not a euphemism, by the way. And now it comes. Number 17, Newcastle versus... Round it goes, isn't it? Number 26, Tottenham Hotspur. You know we're just going to get Newcastle away in the third round, don't you? It's just...
Well, I think we're lucky, aren't we? I think they've got to draw a non-European side first. So you're right. We might avoid them cracks in the initial round, but no, we'll probably draw them in the next one coming. So frustrating, though, right? I mean, frustrating. It is frustrating, right, to be out so early on. I mean, to be fair to Ange took us to Liverpool last season in the quarterfinal, semi-final. So frustrating.
Yeah, it is. No, it is very frustrating to go out in the cups, but as I said, this is the difference now in football. The bean counters upstairs see your league position as far more important, because you only need to win, finish one place above in the league, but comes courtesy of not having a cup run, and it brings in more money than actually winning a cup. That's the problem. So, the priorities of the club is always going to be that. And sadly, as we see, and that's not just Tottenham, that's all clubs. They've just completely ditched the Carabao Cup or the League Cup. The FA Cup seems to have made a little bit more of a resurgence in the kudos of it. But the Carabao Cup, the League Cup, I think a lot of the top clubs, if they got given the choice and it wasn't such a PR blunder, would go, no, dish it, don't want to be in it. We'll just rest midweek. Thank you very much. And, Tranmere and Scunthorpe can go and fight it out at Wembley, but drop us out, please. We'd rather just have our players at home with their feet up.
Yeah, which really again surprised me on that point, because maybe I'm old school, but I was brought up to really respect the domestic cups. It's an opportunity to win a trophy. And I think a club like Tottenham, that again, we go back to what we saw in Bilbao only a few months ago. It's just as important. And again, maybe it goes back to that point, Jace, you actually said when you was on here after the Super Cup final, why you were so frustrated and angry, because that was a genuine chance to win a trophy. And maybe at the time, some saw it as a bit of a glamorised friendly.
Yeah, I think people over here do, but, when you see a trophy with Real Madrid and Milan and Juve and Bayern and all the elite teams on it, why the hell do you want to sneer at it? And like I said, when I was in Italy, everyone I met, overseas-wise, the Italians and the French there were all saying, no, this is a proper trophy. They take it. And PSG called it a historic night. They won the Champions League. They rested players for the league game to make sure they were played for the Super Cup game, and then they went into the league game at the weekend and left a load out from the Super Cup final. We were 2-0 up with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah. I mean, I said,
and they were 4 weeks off the beach. Don't forget. It wasn't the PSG we'll face in 2 weeks' time in terms of fitness. That's what was so frustrating that night.
Yeah. No, I mean, I said at the start of the season, I know some made me stick for it, but I would have taken finishing 10th for winning the Carabao Cup in the first season for Frank to carry on that winning heritage that we had from the previous season. But again, already now you're looking at it and you think, we know, look, we've had a good start to the league in terms of points so far. Champions League, the performances haven't really been there, but again, there'd be a bit of a job to do there to make sure we go through in that competition in terms of playoff or, automatic qualification. It's going to be an interesting next few months, and those injuries are building right now. So down to, like Crack said, down to Enoch to show us what they're really worth in these next couple of transfer windows, and show us if you really, really want to kick on as a football club, because that squad, like we started the show to end the show on, the squad is nowhere near able to compete on all four fronts. And you just see that, again, when you look at the team that was put out there tonight. And yes, we've got injuries, but Newcastle made a number of changes as well. And look, again, that's where we're at. So look, massive thanks to everyone that's still joined us here. We've had nearly over 5,500 of you that have watched us live. So again, thank you so much for your incredible support. Cracks, thank you very much. I think you got a little bit of a break now, but we're going to see you very, very soon, mate. Thank you so much as always. Interesting next few months in store. Interesting next few months in store, right? We'll
always.
Yeah. Again, I agree. Marlon, thank you so much. You're a star. Thank you. We'll see you on Saturday for Chelsea. Just a quiet one. Jason's got the nice week off. We can't bring him on for Chelsea because that might finish him off. And we can't have that already in October. But look, we will see. Interesting times ahead. Cracks, Mars, Jace, thank you. Audience out there, viewers and listeners, thank you. Chin up. We've got to move on, as frustrating as it is. Thank you so much, as always, for your incredible support for the show. We'll be back with you, of course, very, very soon. Keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on, you Spurs.